Welcome to another weekend here on the platform. My name is Sam Omashe. On the program this weekend, I will shift from politics to an issue that is gradually ridding us of gifted minds. That is mental disorder, depression, and suicide. But before that discussion, my column this week titled Forests of 1,000 Demons will be read to you.
It is time to think about a penance for oil, a time to say sorry and genuflect for the evil we have done to black gold. It was first the victim. Now it is no longer just the black gold. It is now a god, a sort of wild, mighty, and vengeful deity haunting us. It is not like the African ancestor, like Ogun or Oya, or some of the goddesses of the sea in African and ancient myths. Not Poseid or the ferocious Greek sea god who raked up storms and tossed martial ships. Our soil is a god that will not wait to be an ancestor before showing fangs. It is mocking with mordant joy our lack of fidelity to the federal idea. We decided to draw up the exclusive list in our grand norm and made minerals a privilege of the center. The power elite did not want oil for the Niger Delta owners. For rape mineral, oil, they dwarfed the rest. Oil was king, and it had to be beheaded, but no one knew it was a god. They killed it before they worshipped it. Oil raped the budget, so all other minerals were left. We scavenged black gold, even though we had the real gold in a number of places in huge deposits, including in Osun State and the blood-gurgling effervescence of Zamfara. We had and still have bauxite, limestone, kaolin, silica, sand, quartz, iron ore, red clay, bitumen, asbestos, marble, gemstone, glass, ball clay, etc. in every local government area. But we ravished the imitation of gold. Black man, black gold, black god. The black man in Nigeria plays black god to black gold. We punished the locals who emboweled it. Their farms, their pristine fishing waters, their trees, all defiled like the oil. The licensees and licensors were not local giants, but greedy trespassers. Now the god is angry. It has sent its curse all over the land. We are seeing it now in the north. It is the tale of two banditries or barbarians. The first banditry was styled like a bejeweled beast. They asked the white man to come. The idea was hatched in ties and suits and babarigas and agbadas et al. Officials sanctioned it with soldiers and police. Courts and government agencies anointed it. People went to school to fortify this. Churches and mosques sanctified it and blessed the carpet beggars. They spoke good English, flaunted outlandish accents. It is banditry as refinement and refinement as banditry. The other barbarians are howling or shrieking or dressed in half-torn tops, their faces dripping with grubby perspiration, their biceps greasy with salt. Now, in Zamfara and along the axis of bandits, we have a good number of them running rampant. They mine as though entitled. It has taken the bandits for us to know that this thing called mineral wealth is rampant in the land. They say they serve God and brandish the holy book, but they serve gold more. All those who enjoy the flamboyance of oil wealth cannot travel without trepidation around the north. The bandits now are like the tenants of Fagunwa's forest of 1,000 demons. These are not demons, though, but demons. They are operating from forests in other places. Forests are an asset for wealth and glory. Here forests hoist blood and gore. They are ambushing the rich and powerful. The barbarians of refinement gave birth to the barbarians of savage revolt. It is a tale of barbarians versus barbarians. Who is worse? It is hard to say.
Joining me now is Professor Hope Eghagha, Head Department of English, University of Lagos, and the founder of Help and Soul Initiative, which is dedicated to the issue of mental disorder and suicide. Welcome, Professor Eghagha.
Thank you very much, Sam, for having me on this program.
Suicide.
Yes.
Depression. Why did you decide to take it on? You're a professor of English, you just bother yourself with metaphors and Shakespeare and Achebe and Shoyinka and all of that. Why did you have to really take that as a point of concern?
Yeah, it's a good question. A personal experience to say. After my kidnap experience, which was quite traumatic for me, I was with kidnappers for 16 days. When I came out, I had to see a psychologist and later had to see a psychiatrist because I felt really bad, you know. So I became very conscious of the work of psychiatrists. But you see, last year, we noticed that quite a number of young people were taking their lives, and we thought that the rate had gone up, you know. We wanted to know why. My immediate reason was one young lady, one Pelumi. I never met her, I never knew her. I heard she was an intern in one of the radio stations, lively, vivacious, always smiling. She put a note on her Facebook page and Instagram page, and the next day, she was gone. And I started asking myself, apart from reports we get on the campuses of young men, you fail a course, or you have to repeat a year, or you can't graduate, and then you take your life. We then said, no, we think that we should educate the public on mental health, on depression and suicide. That's why we went into it.
And the point, though, is that do we really have statistics?
We do have statistics. Last week, I had a chat. I am not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm interested in it. You know, the average psychiatrist or psychologist won't market that profession. I market it for them. Our people shy away from psychologists or psychiatrists. They believe if you go and see a psychiatrist, then you are mad.
Yes.
No. Now, to answer your question directly, we have statistics. They may not be accurate. There is a way suicide is stigmatized in our country, all over the world. Nobody wants to say their relation died of suicide. However, because suicide is now a public act, you know, people do it in public, people die in public. Some live stream their suicide. It's not, we now begin to have statistics. They may not be accurate, but at least we have an impression, we have figures to show that it is on the increase.
Yeah, what kind of figures can we work on?
Now, we are told that Nigeria is about the 15th in terms of suicide rates across the world.
That is depressing.
Yes, 15th.
No pun intended.
Yeah, you know, no pun intended. You see, and that comes to, what figure did they give? There was a figure of about 100,000 per year. Isn't that scary? Yes. They might just be projections, you see, because not all cases will be reported. All right. So, but because the network which you've started on Facebook, for instance, is called HASA, Help a Soul Alliance. We have about 6,000 members, and we get reports, we get calls from people who are depressed, people just talking to somebody. There was somebody who called us from Warri, and one of our consultants is based in the UK. She called him, and later he called back to tell me, it's as if you lifted 7 bags of cement off my chest. Yes, you know, that was the very expression he used. Just talking to somebody. He couldn't talk to his wife about it. He couldn't tell his wife that he was thinking about dying. Just end it all. He was a musician, or he is a musician. Goes out to play every weekend. He has kids. Apparently, he's happy, but deep inside, he's dying. He said it was just the presence of his two kids that stopped him from committing suicide. So we believe that we should intervene, call people. That's the reason we are saying we want to train first responders across the country. Those that, you look at some of those posts which people gave before they commit the act. Those are telltale signs that if we follow through, we could save some lives.
A story that has taken the front burner since perhaps 2015, when people saw the lagoon as an easy way out of the world. They just go to the bridge, and then they are not even finding an alternative life. There's one Japanese novel I read where somebody went to the bridge and he found an alternative life, and he had to come back there for restoration. Forgetting this was something Q84, you know, the famous Japanese novel. Now, but in this case, people are not even seeking any absolution. They're not seeking any answers. They just want to bring everything to an end. And it started happening. And people, and there was one time there was a Lagoon Watch, or a Third Mainland Bridge Watch, that wanted to know whether anybody who acted in a strange way wanted to end his life. Some people have linked it up to the economy. Do you think economy is... For instance, we had some people who have... before this show, you talked about the pastor who didn't have his rent paid. We had the UNN student who took sniper. And we had the student who had taken JAM for several times, four times or 5 times, and decided that it was not going to go on. Is this really an economic problem, or there's more to it?
I think it's both. Economic problem, because when you are challenged financially and you have you are in a country, you are in a place where you don't have social support. You begin to say, look, I cannot continue, I cannot tolerate this level of shame and disgrace and humiliation. I cannot pay my rent, you know. That's economic. Again...
So it's not just that I'm a pastor, I cannot pay my rent. I cannot pay my rent is one thing I can live with. But cannot live with the idea that people can see me as somebody who cannot pay my rent. So it's another issue.
That's another issue, which has to do with the mind. Your ego. And once the ego is assaulted so terribly, you want to end it up. Because that pastor who hanged himself using his belt was a public figure, a handsome guy who performed 2 or 3 days before, you know, and of course he's laughing, but he then gets home. There is a big dissonance between his public life and his private life. And he says, for how long can this go on? He then says that he had spoken to his church people, please rescue me. They didn't. And in fact, in his suicide note, he said something like, I'll go on with your phony IDP charity. I'm here, you don't want to help me, but you're going. You know, so it gets to that stage. But what is worrying now is that it has become a fad, it has become a fashion, it has become a way. In the 80s, when we went through economic stagnation in this country, when the times were very hard, we didn't hear about this level of suicide. It is possible because of the absence of social media at the time. It's possible it was underreported. But now it seems to be...
feeding on itself.
Yes. People see, oh, that man has taken that option. So okay, I will do it. At a point, I thought, I said, look, is it possible to ban sniper? But if you ban sniper, people will go the other way. So there are 2 things. One is to see how we can improve social support from the family perspective, because somebody who is mentally ill needs the support of the family. Social family, economic family, religious family, you need support. The man who is ill mentally, he needs understanding and needs to be understood. He does irrational things. he says irrational things, things that you cannot believe. That, for instance, when they suffer from psychosomatic whatever reactions, he says, oh, there are hot flushes. It's as if there's fire in my arm. Fire. And you say, can fire be there? But he feels it. Really, there's no fire. Well, he really feels it. But you see, you have to have gone through that kind of experience, or you ought to have read to be able to understand that kind of person. So, one, do something about the economy, social support. Then let us not run away from psychiatrists. A psychiatrist is just another doctor. Just the way you have a gynecologist who looks after a pregnant woman, you have an orthopedic surgeon who looks after your bone. The psychiatrist looks after your mind. And you are not mad, because there are different levels of mental ill health. You have the mild, you have the a bit severe, you have the very severe. You have psychosis, schizophrenia, all kinds of things, you know. But if you begin to dwell on negative things alone, I have failed, this is not working, try and look for what is working. But sometimes a man who is depressed can never go in that direction.
That is the problem.
Yes.
That the depressed people want to give you the impression that they're happy.
Yes.
That the fact, when somebody who is not usually very feisty starts showing an extraordinary feistiness, then you have to watch out, right? Because it's probably trying to cover something essentially dark. Yeah.
So the economy is part of it. Culturally, it's a taboo to take your life, you know, all over Africa. Then in religion, it is also said to lead to damnation, that you won't have a resurrection if you have taken your life. But you see, that's not the angle we go when we do counseling. We say you need hope to be alive. Yes, be hopeful that the challenges which you have today could be overcome by next day. But you need social support to do that. Then there's a stage it gets to, you need drugs, medication. And some people can't sleep. Throughout the night, for 2-3 nights, they are not able to sleep because there's a problem bothering them. Just imagine a young girl who's done JAM 3-4 times and keeps failing, wakes up 12 midnight and then is worried. My friend is in LASU. The other friend is in UI. That friend is gone abroad.
My life is over.
That's it.
Why don't I just take it?
So, you know, when we publicize on social media, it reinforces the belief that, yes,
this is what I've been saying about myself. So I'm not the only one who actually is suffering. This is the way the world is. I belong to the same class with that person. So the issue is not really suicide. The issue is depression.
Depression, that's right.
And we are getting essentially depressed in this country. Now, there's also a sense in which I think there's a correlation between those who are committing suicides and those who are bandits about the country. Shoyinka in a conference recently in the United States said that it is not, he was talking about banditry in the north, said it is not an economic problem. It goes beyond economic. I said it's metaphysical. And if it is metaphysical, does that also mean that as a spiritual country, that the country has failed? Because this is a society that has been, that for centuries has been based one way or the other on the props of faith, whether it's the traditional, whether it's the Muslim, whether it's the Christian. Are we in a phase where spiritually this country is failing?
Well,
because that is the prop. When people say that is the last prop, but when it is failing, that's it. And that even in societies, in Western societies, you know, they have been able to go beyond having the priest or the pastor or the cleric, whatever it is, to be the last prop, that they have institutionalized counseling. If you have any problem, there's somebody to go to before you go. But we don't have that. So the last frontier, as it were, is the priest, the far priest or the church priest or the Muslim priest and so on. And that if sacerdotally we are failed, that means the last frontier is failed, everybody is now in a jungle. So psychologically, we are now in a jungle.
It's possible to look at it like that. It's also possible to look at it as retribution of things which we have failed to do have now come haunting us with a vengeance.
Yes.
It's also possible to look at it like that. But what we try to do when we deal with mental cases, we try to remove the spiritual, we try to remove the metaphysical. They are very active in our society. You can't run away from it. One of the myths about mental health, ill health, is that if you're mentally ill, it means that you have committed an act of taboo. There is an ancestral curse.
Yes.
You know, so we don't go in that direction. We try to deal with it.
Is there not a problem in not going in that direction, at least interrogating it? Because as it is a very important part of who this society is.
Yes, our cultural identity, you know, revolves around that. The fact that there is a link between the dead and the living. Oh, yes. Even with the Christians, with the Muslims, not to talk about the traditional believers here. But you see, once we begin to go in that direction as a frontal policy, it could mislead a lot of people. On our Facebook page, you have a lot of babalawos coming in. Yes, to say they can cure people. Of mental ill health. But we know the crude
what of are the Muslims coming in and the Christians also coming in to say so?
Yeah, the Christians come in to say prayer.
Yes.
They say when you pray, reject it and all that, but we don't go in that direction.
Well, how does a mental person reject it when the person is not sane enough to...
You know, so what we do, we go scientific. We say, all right, we try to establish courses. What are the remote, what are the immediate courses? You know, somebody comes to work well, active, suddenly loses it and becomes aggressive. There's a build-up. We say, what are the remote, what are the immediate courses? And then we control, take for counseling. If you need medication, you get medication. Beyond that, we then say, all right, what is your faith? My faith is this. Let your pastors be praying for you. Because that is comforting when they know they are being prayed for. For some, they are not even aware that they are ill. They reject it. I am not mad. It's like the man who is drunk. You see all the evidence that this man is drunk. And he says, me, I am not drunk. I know what I'm doing.
Yes.
And the person who is lost it mentally, you then say, look, I think we should see a psychiatrist. Are you mad? Do you think you are saying I'm mad?
Are you insulting me that I'm mad?
Yes. And it happens, look, my brother, the rate right now, let's just pay a visit. Send a reporter to the hospital, the psychiatric hospital in Yaba. You meet all kinds of people. Husband and wife. The wife is in depression. And some are lifelong. Yes. You manage them life. Some are on medication throughout their lives. Some get tired after a point and say, no, I'm not taking it anymore. And what is it? Maybe loss of somebody. News that when there's diagnosis of terrible ailment in the body, husband has abandoned the wife or taken another wife. Some of the young boys are into drugs. Yes, and then it aggravates the situation. So there are different causes.
So these drugs, especially when you talk about young people who are into drugs, well, it looks like that is the demographic that is actually involved in this suicide, the young to middle age.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, yes.
And this is an age where we have a lot of people taking tramadol,
That's right.
Now sniper, and a lot of that. Are we saying if the spiritual angle has not failed, the state has not even come to terms with the fact that we have a depressed citizenry?
The state is not.
It's not aware. It's not thinking
to
about
come to terms with it.
Yes.
When the British government last year created a secretary for not happiness now, for suicide prevention.
Yes.
I knew that they are taking it seriously. Yes. Because it is said that a person who has attempted suicide first time is likely to try second, third, fourth time until they succeed. So when they created, in spite of the social fabric of the British society, in spite of the infrastructure, in
spite of the welfare.
When you get into the British society, everything seems to work.
Yes.
Why should someone?
And maybe that is the problem, that everything seems to work.
Yet somebody, okay, let's create a minister for suicide prevention. And what you do, you create centers. They're also trying to rebrand the psychiatric homes because people react to it. I don't want to go to a psychiatric home. I call it a rehabilitation home or home for happiness.
That's why even the prisons were first called penitentiaries.
That's right. Yeah. So you begin to reduce. Now, if that state is so conscious, created a minister, appointed a minister for just that single aspect of health, it means that it is a very serious thing there. We know it's taken seriously in America. So we are advocating, let's train more psychiatrists. The psychiatrists are nearly not enough across the country. We don't need to have what we call mad people along the streets. The Eghagha case, the Eghagha family of 5, husband, wife, and 3 kids. That we were taken off the streets last year. They have not been rehabilitated. People thought, oh, these are mad people. I
remember, But it turns out that the problems can actually be handled.
They can be handled.
Yeah, we can go on and on. I remember too that even the Kennedys, they had, their patriarch, Joseph Kennedy, gave birth to a lady that was regarded as invalid and someone with mental problems.
Failed lobotomy.
Yes, failed lobotomy. And so when JFK became president, one of the first things he did was to set up a commission that would take care of those people who had mental problems in the United States. That was the first time in the whole United States they waited for somebody, a president who had a sister with that kind of problem.
Right.
We don't want to wait till a governor will have or a president will have that before we take.
There's a governor's wife who suffered it right now, but we have not taken one of the governors. The wife had a mental breakdown. In fact, there are 2. 2 former governors whose wife.
Yes, I remember one of them.
So they have not taken any real steps. But we need to take such steps.
Okay. Okay, that has been Professor Hope Eghagha talking depression and suicide. And it's a very important thing that you don't take your life very seriously, but more importantly, the social safety nets and the governments, the churches, the institutions should watch out for a society that is losing touch with itself. Thank you very much, Hope Eghagha.
Thank you, my brother Sam. Thank you for having me on the program.
Thank you for watching the program today. You can catch up with my published column on www.samomashaye.com. Also follow me on Twitter. My handle is @samomashaye. And until next time, be good.